Hi, I'm Bob Trask. This is your weekly reset video. Your weekly reset video where we'll get this next week more powerfully going than the week before. We'll do this for 52 weeks in 1 year. Guess how powerful we will be. Yes, 1 year from today. Think about that. 1 year from today, if you watch every week a weekly reset and apply those lessons, imagine how your life will have changed. Oh boy, that's exciting, right? Right. Okay. So today we're going to talk about something that's absolutely one of my favorite subjects, and I'm reluctant quite often to talk about it because it's hard to talk about because you can't really intellectually conceive of it intellectually. You can conceive of it, but not intellectually. And since we are an intellectual world, everything that we do has to be intellectual, but this isn't intellectual. Grace is our strength. Grace and strength are two sides of the same coin. They build off of each other. And when we're in grace, our hearts and our souls are on fire with strength and with beauty when we're in grace. Then check it out. When we're in grace, our lives are full of awe, of truth, of mystery, and of wonder. So grace is something that's so misunderstood because a lot of people think that grace is religious. Like if I do the 10 Commandments right and I go to church and I go to confession and communion, or I do whatever else my individual religion calls for, that then I'll be in grace. No. You know tons and tons of religious people that are not in grace. They don't live lives of grace. You can kind of check a life that's lived in grace because it's filled with forgiveness and gratitude and love. Isn't that true? Think of someone that you know whose life is filled with gratitude, forgiveness, and love. I'll give you a minute. No, you don't need a minute. You know who that person is. That person's in grace. That person's living in grace. So grace isn't a religious concept. It has nothing to do with religion. It's the universe in all its vast creations. In all its vastest creations. The name of that wisdom is grace. Like even Einstein said, finally, I mean, and other great physicists, great scientists finally came to the place where they said, I guess you have to admit that this incredible universe, in all of the ways that it articulates itself with atomic and subatomic particles and in all of the different ways that it's visible and invisible, with its weak force and its strong force and its magnetic force and all of the different energies. All of that has to have a mind behind it, has to have some kind of a consciousness behind it, has to have some kind of an intelligence behind it. Well, that intelligence, you can see the results of it with the incredible nebulae, those flower gardens of space. They're so incredibly beautiful. Oh my God. And you can see grace in a flower. I mean, you plant a little seed in the ground and you wait and you water and you fertilize, and pretty soon up comes this little sprout, and then you watch this little sprout put those little leaves, and you look at those beautiful little leaves, and then it opens a blossom. Oh my God. And you look into this blossom, if you dare. I know you're busy. I know you're too busy to do this. But if should you not be too busy to do this, if you look into that blossom, so let's say that the leaves of the blossom petals are yellow, and in the center is a bright red, and that red fades into the yellow. Ooh, ooh. Does that touch your soul? if you just look, if you don't look away, just look. Not only look, but see. See, drink in. How can you get red and yellow together like that and that they complement each other? How can you do that? What if you had a red and yellow car? It'd be pretty hard for those to complement each other. But in a red and yellow flower, they complement each other. How does that happen? That's the most amazing and beautiful thing because it's grace. It's grace. And your life is like that. Your life is a gift. Your life is a gift. I don't mean that the incarnation is a gift. You incarnated into this world, into this incarnation at this time in order to fulfill a certain mission, in order to fulfill a certain unfolding of your soul. That's what you're here for. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the essence of who you are and what you are. The essence that you brought with you into this incarnation from the great eternal oneness that some people call God. Doesn't matter what you call it. That's just the great is, the great IS is. And that is God or is Holy Spirit or is in eternity or is the eternal energy or the eternal whatever. But it is, and we are becoming, right? It is, and we are becoming. Now, as we're becoming, as you and I are becoming, we are becoming one with that energy, with that intelligence. And that intelligence is grace. I'm not talking about the creative energy. I talk about that in other talks. The creative energy, the creative power, your creative power, the creative energy. I'm not talking about that. I told you before it was hard for me to talk about this because it doesn't make any sense intellectually. I know that. I know that it's hard to talk about, but I'm asking you to get out on the edge of your mind, right out at the very edge of the diving board of your mind, and sit down and let your feet hang over. I'm actually asking you to come all the way into this and hear me. Not just listen to me, but hear me. Grace is the essence of isness. Grace is the essence of life, the essence of being. Some people would say grace is love. Well, I would agree with that. But love is a captured word, isn't it? Love has meanings. Grace doesn't have any meanings. Love can actually be defined. I promise you, you can see a lot of definitions of grace, but grace can't be defined. It's undefinable because it is. It isn't something that can be put in a box. It is. It's the great presence of all. It's the wisdom. It's the personality behind everything that ever was. So grace is not religious. It's not even close to religious. It's universal and natural, and you were born with it. You can no more earn grace or deserve grace than you can earn or deserve the smell of sweet flowers. So today we're going to explore how each of us, you and I, find grace flowing through us and empowering us. We'll be hearing inspiration from a number of minds who practice and live in grace, and see if maybe something they say can help us, because I promise you that for me, grace floods into my being through inspiration. Through inspiration. And one of the great inspiring things that I've heard is that those people that are in grace, they tell us that it's like gentle water lapping at our souls with clean, refreshing energy. They tell us that our dreams are all just phase one of a two-part process. Phase one is to dream, to dare to dream, to be in grace and to dare to dream. The impossible dream, the impossible dream. If you dream the possible dream, that's not dreaming, that's planning. Dream the impossible dream. Dare you reach beyond that which you see is easy? Dare you reach beyond that and dream the impossible dream? So that's phase one. And phase two is to empower that dream. And the way we empower that dream is to be in grace. I'm going to lay out a few steps for you about how to be in grace. I don't want you to think anything's too big. What would happen? What would happen in terms of you and grace if you had absolute clarity? Absolute clarity. You didn't have to wonder about anything. You just could see how things are and how they could unfold and how they could develop. You could just see that clearly. How would your life change? Like you look forward to this dream I was talking about a minute ago. So you look for the impossible dream. What if you had absolute clarity about that dream and its possibilities or its probabilities? And what if you had the courage, with the clarity, what if you had the courage to go forth, to empower that dream, to take the risks? And it takes risks, doesn't it? It takes risks. Got to risk. I can tell you, yesterday's gone, today's here, and tomorrow's coming. And if tomorrow's going to be different than today, and I promise you, for 98% of the people on the planet, tomorrow will not be different than today. 98%, don't be one of them. 98%, tomorrow will not be different than today. Tomorrow will be today replicated, and it'll be replicated the day after that and the day after that. We scientifically know that 95% of what we thought yesterday, or thinking yesterday, we'll think again today, and we'll think again tomorrow. Do we have to do that? We do if we're locked into a failure to risk, to dream the impossible dream, to get clarity about the first step, not the whole step, the first step, clarity about the first step, and then to take the risks to change from what today was so that tomorrow becomes possible. And then, my dear heart, you gain confidence. That's a given. That's automatic. As long as you're worthy of it, you gain confidence. And with that confidence, then you go forward. And you not only dream the impossible dream, you make impossible dreams become reality. But the answer is to be filled with grace. You got to take the time to look at sunsets. You got to take the time to see the sunsets, the sunrises. You got to take the time to see that. Lindsay Lohan, famous actress, did all the things that actresses do, busted her butt all the way up until she got to be famous. She said that grace grace is beauty, and beauty is grace and confidence. Lindsay Lohan, grace is beauty and confidence. I learned to accept and appreciate what nature gave me, she said, what nature gave me. So that's to be in the flow of nature. I talked about the flowers, the trees, the sunsets, to see a mud puddle, and just don't see a muddy water. but to look at the reflection of the trees and the skies in that water. No less blessed are the mirrors that reflect reality than our reality. Everything that we see is grace. Everything that we see is filled with grace. My voice right now, what you're hearing, you're not, incidentally, you're not hearing my voice, because my voice is a voice, but you're hearing through your own filters, your interpretation of Bob Trask's voice. That's your grace. And in order for me to be grace, I have to be willing to see grace. And then I have to be willing to express grace, because grace is energy. Grace is moving. Grace isn't still. Grace isn't stagnant. Grace is moving. Grace is energy. Grace is the flow of intelligence and flow of energy throughout all universes at all times. And as it's flowing through me and as it's flowing through you, it changes us. It changes us like it changes the flowers, causes them to bloom. We have not yet bloomed completely. We need to trust the grace to come through us and be willing to risk and be willing to go out after our dreams so that we can become. And then we love each other. We love each other. And we see in each other that grace coming back. And we love each other, please hear me, primarily with our eyes. We look at each other with love. We let the love come through our eyes. We let our love come through our eyes, and people can feel that blessing. If you see someone on the street and you say, "Hi, how are you today?" and they glance over at you, the only thing they're going to see is your eyes, and they see your eyes and they see that flood of energy, of love energy, of grace coming forward into them. Boom, and they're blessed. Boom, they're blessed. And then that grace is flowing through you and you are becoming. And that's the way it has to be. I mean, we talk about inspiration, but inspiration, oh my goodness. I'm watching the Olympics now. Ooh. The Olympic, I wait for the Olympics because the Olympics are my blessings. The Olympics give me such inspiration. I see those people. They were once kids. They were once little kids. And some of them grew up in tough houses, tough families. Some of them grew up gifted with lots of money and abilities, but they all grew up and they had to all go through their stuff. One of my great heroes forever is Tara Lipinski, who as a teenager beat all of the top figure skaters in the world. People twice her age, from all over the world, who've been skating their whole lives, who had their routines down pat. She was a teenager and she beat them all and won the gold medal. How does she do that? That's grace. Every time I think about that final competition with her out on the ice, I start crying. It was just so beautiful, so powerful. But what about those of us who can't swim like Ledecky or fly like Biles? What about us? Are we not just as valuable? Don't we have just the same amount of grace moving through us as they did? Yes. Are we not just as capable of doing something magnificent in our lives? Yes. They're more visible. That doesn't make them more important or more valuable. We get to see people rise to the tops of themselves in the Olympics. And by seeing and watching them and watching the special Olympics, people who have only one leg or no legs or no arms or are blind or whatever, and they go to the special Olympics, they haven't got any special something going on for them, except they're flowing with grace. So we don't have any excuses, do we? We don't have any excuses. Charles Swindoll said, grace supports and encourages. Grace releases and affirms. Grace values the dignity of individuals. I know 4 people with cancer right now, flowing with grace, each one of them smiling with their eyes and rising to meet this occasion with clarity, with courage and confidence. Now, let's say that you say, oh, this is a terrible situation. Oh my God, I just found out I have cancer. Oh, what a terrible, terrible situation this is. Oh my God, I can't believe how awful this is. Where's the grace? But if you have clarity and the courage to risk, to keep your grace alive and to move forward with courage, then you win, and they're winning. All it takes is living each day with a different attitude, one that says we're not alone. We're not alone, and our dreams are sacred. And me, Bob, I'm here to help you make your dreams reality. I am. That's my job. I'm here to help you make your dreams realities. That's what I do. I've done it for hundreds of thousands of people all over the planet. Here's the question. Are you here to help other people with their realities? Who are you helping? Who are you helping with their realities? Are you helping me with mine? Let's dare to step a little higher. Let's dare to do what seems impossible. Alan Snap said, grace needs to be the air we breathe, the atmosphere we live in. Grace needs to be the air we breathe, the atmosphere we live in. Grace is the fuel that strengthens us, that gets us past those old deficient self-opinions and allows us to win at every part of life. We're born with grace, but knowing who we are and what we can do then becomes a little difficult because we forget. We all got sent to school and we all learned that we had to be square pegs in a square society, and we had to get certain grades, and we had to show up wearing certain clothes, and we had to, but that's all superficial stuff. Grace is the nourishment, isn't it? Isn't it? It's nourishment. And if you don't get nourished, you starve. And your soul needs to be nourished. That part of you, that invisible, incredible, magnificent part of you, that is like right now, you and I were talking. And right now you're feeling something. Not forget my words for a minute. You're feeling something besides my words, aren't you? You're feeling something else going on. You know what that something else is that's going on? That's grace. That's the connection between you and me. Some might call it love, but love is a little bit less than that. Because love is categorized, and it's categorically possible. Grace can't be categorized. Grace is. Grace is. In these past few days watching the Olympics, watching Noah Lyles, who was just a little black kid at one time, is now the world's fastest man. And we all can't be Katie Ledecky, who won more medals, including gold medals, of any other woman in history. Nor Summer McIntosh, who broke the Olympic record. Canadian, sweet, good Canadian lady broke the Olympic record to win gold. Nor Suni Lee, the 2020 gold medalist, who 1 year ago thought she'd never compete again, ever, because she had 2 kidney diseases, bad kidney diseases, rocking her world. That's a year ago. And this year, she stood on the podium with Simone Biles, who at 4'8", imagine that with me for a minute, 4'8", at 4'8", flies more than 12 feet in the air without a trampoline, running across a hard floor, and jumps, this little lady, more than 12 feet in the air, and turns and twists and rotates and does all of those things while up in the sky, and then comes down and sticks her landing. How in the world can anyone do that? Is that practice? Yeah, well, yeah, that's practice. What else is it? Simone Biles. Simone Biles, once again, little black girl, little tiny short black girl, whose mother was a drug addict. And she couldn't stay with her mother. She was farmed out to her grandmother and to multiple um, houses to be fostered. And she is the most famous woman gymnast in history. No one else can do what she can do. No one. And I can't. And I can't do what you can do either. And neither can Lyles or Ledecky or Lee or Biles. None of them can do what you can do. How do we stand on our own podiums of accomplishment? How do we do that? There are 3 simple steps. Number 1, believe you can. Believe you can. That's the clarity. Believe you can. Just believe you can take the smallest step. Don't believe you can take the whole garbage can together. Just the first step. Just the first step. Then practice constantly. Practice constantly. And then finally, trust grace. Thomas Adams said, grace comes into the soul as the morning sun into the world. First a dawning, then a light, and at last the sun in his full and excellent brightness. Grace comes into the soul as the morning sun into the world. First a dawning. Feel that in you as I'm saying those words. Then a light. And at last, the sun in all his full and excellent brightness. That's grace. Now, you can't go away from this talk today and say, okay, I'll figure that out. No, you can't figure it out. It's not intellectual. It has nothing to do with intellect. You can't figure it out. You have to do it. You have to dare to reach beyond yourself and feel yourself empowered by grace. Because the champions of life, wherever we find them, are just doing what they came here to do. They're not following someone else's path. Don't follow someone else's path. They're making their own path. Harry Belafonte once told me, he said, sing your own music, Bob. Sing your own music, not someone else's. Harry Belafonte. And I'm passing that on to you because today your grace is only available for you to do what you came here to do. John Newton is the one. He was a sea captain, like I was a sea captain. He went through an incredible hurricane and it changed his life. I went through an incredible hurricane. It changed my life. He left the sea and began doing his ministry. I left the sea and began doing my ministry. I didn't know at the time that we had that in common. And he wrote that amazing song, Amazing Grace. Grace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved and set me free. Amazing grace. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. He's talking to you and me when we've been here 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. We've no less days to sing God's praise than when we'd first begun. What's he talking about singing God's praise? It is to sing with our hearts and become one with the greatness of isness, of grace itself. An actor, Bradley Whitford, said, thank you, Bradley, for this. Infuse your life with action. Don't wait for it to happen. Make it happen. Make your own future. Make your own hope. Make your own love. Whatever your beliefs, he says, honor them. Whatever your beliefs, honor your creator. That's the is. Not by passively waiting for grace come down from on high, but by doing what you can to earn grace, to make grace happen yourself right now, right here on earth. Make your own love. Whatever your beliefs, honor your creator, not by passively waiting for grace to come down from upon high, but by doing what you can to make grace happen through loving through your eyes, through taking a risk, through daring to be who you came here to be, daring to be who you came here to be, yourself, right now, right here on earth. I'm in grace today, and so are you. We just have to acknowledge it. Now, I'd like to ask you to do me a favor, because I'm trying to make these talks go as far as possible and reach as many people as possible. Like I said, I have a few 100,000 graduates from around the world, but I'm not in touch with all of them. And I need your help. So if you would just please go to bobtrask.com and maybe that's bobtrask.com, maybe leave a donation. And then help me spread the word by talking to your friends, talking to other people, helping through Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Let's get as many people as we can watching so that we can spread the word. Will you do that for me? I would so much appreciate it. Then we do this together with grace and in grace, and we become who we came here to be. Thank you. Thank you for being with me this week. I appreciate it. I appreciate you, and I send you with my love.